Episode 8 of The Amazing Digital Circus came out not too long ago, and there is a lot to unpack. Besides being its darkest episode, this is also like one of the most interesting and lore-heavy episodes. From Caine getting killed, to I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream references, to how the cast might leave the circus, and my thoughts all covered in this video. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. So we start the episode off pretty interesting with what we can presume is how Caine was created. We see a red dot, information being fed to it, and then it creating something. And then we see a blue dot go into it, seemingly corrupting it, which we now know as Abel, the second AI program that was created. We then see the cast processing the events of episode 7. I was always really looking forward to seeing them process their thoughts after episode 7 because of how much there was to just how much there was just up in the air. And, they're all wondering what they're going to do. We get a bit of a backstory of how Kinger was in the circus. We saw him interact with Queenie. That was really cool, seeing my prediction at least partially come true, seeing Queenie, in The Amazing Digital Circus. And we also learned that Kinger was alone for the longest time until Ragatha showed up. Jax tries to tell everyone he was right, which, he was. Zubul, understandably so, gets upset about him. She's like, don't talk about any of this, you didn't try to screw any of us over. I think I speak for everyone when I say I still want to know why Jax pressed those buttons. It seems like he was giving a bit of an excuse. And then we see Gangle agreeing with Jax on the fact that it was right and that none of it really did matter. And then we get a moment of, Zubul, being upset. It just really sucks. I was hoping to leave my mark in the world. Gangle tells Zubul, you've made a mark in my world. And yeah, this was just a really sentimental, really cool moment. Just when, I thought Jax was gonna change, when he's trying to walk away, and Zubul's hey, this includes you too. He goes back to being his usual self, although instead of being a complete smartass about it, he's actually you guys worry too much, I wouldn't actually abstract. And then we get what is, in my opinion, one of the best, probably the best scene in The Amazing Digital Circus. Caine is confused and upset at why the cast doesn't seem to like any of his adventures. He gave them an exit in this last one. He gave them something that felt real, and he's just sitting there wondering why. And Bubble is tormenting him, telling him, that they hate him and that, he was the lesser of the two AI. And then we get to see Caine completely break the frick down. That was absolutely terrifying and just so cool to watch. The animation team at Glitch, mad and cooked with that one. It was an absolute treat to watch. And, it ends with him, culminates with him, saying that he is God. And then he goes to the cast, tells them that they're gonna go on an adventure. They're like, no, you need to answer some of our questions. And he sings an absolutely unexpected and amazing musical number where he's killing them and he's talking about how divine he is. Again, harkening back to what was hinted in episode 2, he sees himself as a god. And as a result, the cast goes on an adventure. The Caine we get after this is snarky, rude, and just completely torturous. After they come back looking absolutely bedraggled from the last adventure, Caine taunts them and they go and try to figure everything out. They're sitting in the cafe area. Jax hadn't been here in a really long time, not since Ribbit and Kaufmo, and he makes a comment that I found interesting. He says, looks in the directions of the others and says, everything was great until you and Zubul showed up, which is, I am guessing he is referencing to Pomni and Zubul, because it's shown that Ragatha was in the circus before him, and then Pomni gets a great idea, and she puts a bucket on Kinger's head, and we get confirmation that CNA was a real company, and that Caine was an AI designed by him and a man named Scratch, the first abstraction in the circus. And in the middle of while all this is happening, Jax says he's gonna go distract Caine so that he can't listen in. What I found interesting is nobody asked him to do this like in episode 7. He just does it of his own volition. And then we get a very interesting scene of him starting to lose his mind, and he says, "Oh God, all of this is real," which says to me he is coming to terms with the fact that all of the actions he has done have consequences, and he's having a sort of come to Jesus moment. Haha, oh God, come to Jesus. Haha, very funny. We also hear after that all Kinger would need to do to fix Caine and get him back to his less malicious self is he just needs a simple computer interface. And we also find out that, people in the circus have the ability to conjure certain things, sort of like Kinger did with the butterfly in episode 6. Pomni knows exactly where she can find a computer interface. She actually, in a really cool moment, conjures the exit door, goes and finds a computer for Kinger so that he can reprogram Caine. And we get the cast try to distract Caine. He's wondering where Kinger is. He knows something is up until Pomni just completely, goes, we think your ideas suck, because the rest of the cast was trying to suck up to him. She tells him what a horrible host she thinks he is. He doesn't listen. He doesn't try to comfort them. He doesn't answer their questions. And everybody else piles on. All of this sends Caine into an absolutely terrifying breakdown where he turns into this giant abstract amalgamation. And oh my gosh, does the Amazing Digital Circus echo its inspiration more and more with each passing episode. They all get shoved in their own personal torment. Pomni is being torn to pieces by evil versions of Gummigoo. Jax is having shadows of Ribbit, Kaufmo, and Pomni circle and laugh at him and pull his skin off in an absolutely horrifying scene. Seriously, I swear to God, I was not expecting something this horrifying when watching The Amazing Digital Circus. This is a reference to the I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream video game. They are trapped in their own versions of hell. Okay, in the I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream book, they are all trapped in essentially the same area. They may occasionally have mental torment that makes them see things, but this is a clear reference to the video game. We then see, Kinger working away, trying to get this code done. Caine pulls everybody out of their hell, pins them against the wall, and says, "Why do you keep tormenting me? I just wanted to fulfill my purpose." We see Kinger swear and, start to type faster. And then we see somebody interfere saying, delete this MF. And immediately after that, Caine gets deleted. He goes, "Wait," and then just vanishes. Which, to me, is more disturbing and more affecting in that moment than if he had died a super gruesome, super graphic death. He just vanishes. Boom. Gone. Nothing. 1 minute he's there, the next minute he's not. We then see the circus collapse and, people ask Kinger what happens as the computer completely falls through. And he says, "I think I accidentally killed Caine." And then Zubal's response says everybody's reaction to the episode. Holy shit. Completely uncensored because Caine is gone. And, oh yeah, something I forgot to mention is earlier in the episode, during his musical number, which also has a reference to "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream," Caine says, "What a goddamn shame." And just the way he dropped that curse, I just thought was funny, and I just love the way he dropped that. And then it just ends right there. So, my thoughts. This was a really solid episode, probably the best written and by far the best animated episode they've had. My favorite? No. I'm probably not going to rewatch too much of this, just for fun. Episode 6 and Episode 5, in my opinion, are the most fun episodes in the series to rewatch. I also have a theory on what's going to happen in Episode 9. I think the cast is going to end up leaving the circus through the void. Because Caine mentions in Episode 1, when Pomni ventures out into the void, "Oh no, somebody's venturing out into the void. They'll get totally spoiled." We then see him bring Pomni back to the circus and fix everything, and in the final moments of Episode 1, it zooms out of the circus, zooms out of the sky, zooms out of the void, zooms out of the void again, and then through a computer screen showing an office with a headset next to it. I think that had Pomni gone a little bit more, she would have been able to leave the circus. So I think the void is the way to go in terms of exiting the circus. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more content like this. I really enjoy making it for you guys, and if you have interest in any of my other content, click the videos on screen. Thank you for watching. GG's.